Hey folks, my name's Chris Wessel. Today we're going to be tying an Atlantic salmon fly called the Copper Killer. We're going to be tying this in a pretty simplified hair wing pattern, but it works great here for Atlantic salmon, especially in the later season. So without further ado, let's get on into it. So today we're going to start off using our Partridge M2, and we're going to try using that in a size 4 today. We are going to start also with a white UTC 70, and we'll just tie in right about there and start bringing our thread down the hook. I'm going to get a little bit further, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in my tag oval. That doesn't want to cooperate, but that's alright. Once you get it in there, you can manipulate that with your fingernail. I kind of want that on the side of the shank. And just pull down a bit. And right about there, and then I'll come back right where I want that tag to stop after I'm done wrapping it. I think that's enough wraps there. 4 should be good. And we just tack that in with our thread. There we go. So now I'm going to bring the thread up so far to accommodate the butt section here. Right about there. And for that today we're going to be using a bright green Glow Bright. And we're going to leave a little bit of material out to hood back over our butt. And we just take our time and create this butt section. We're going to have that cover over our tag a little bit. Then we're going to start moving back. Alright, I'll tie in that piece there. My vise just shifted. And we'll just hood back over that just to protect it. Here we go. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in our tail, and for that today we're going to be using a dyed red golden pheasant crest. So we can, geez, they don't really have the best curve in these. Let's try that one. So basically all I do is I just grab it by the very tips and I kind of preen those feathers back. Because I don't really want, not feathers, sorry, fibers. I don't really want any fibers that's going to stop down here because it won't look that good. So we're going to come up, and right about where I want it is where I'm going to pinch it with my other hand and just do 1 or 2 wraps, and then I can adjust it from there. Sorry guys, I got to tip up to see what I got here. I don't really like the feathers I had chosen there. But we may be able to work with that. Alright, so our next material we are going to use is going to be some red dubbing. Now, there's a lot of variations of this pattern, and we're tying, I believe this is a Dokes version of this pattern. Kind of and kind of not. I like using dubbing, I just find it easier to use. I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of dubbing wax on my thread just to hold that dubbing in there nicely. And we're just using a wool dubbing today. So like you can use chenille, I've seen people use peacock curl. You know, I don't get too concerned over it. So I'm just putting that dubbing on. I think I put on a little bit too much, so just going to tie like that there. Yeah, that's not too bad. Next we're going to do is take a size small Vivis tinsel in a gold. So the Dokes variant of the Copper Killer has gold ribbing, I believe. I don't have my book here in front of me now, so I believe one of them does, and I believe it's the Dokes version. And all we're doing is just tying our thread up to or wrapping our thread up to towards the hook eye. And at this point, I'm actually going to tie off on this white thread because I won't need this anymore. I'm going to switch over to a red thread here after we put on our white underbody, because ultimately that's how our fly is going to be finished, with a red head on it. So we're using underbody, and the reason for that is it's going to create some nice even girth in our body of this fly, and it helps with laying down the mylar on top, just creates a nice surface for it. Yeah, that's good. Alright, we're going to switch over to our UTC 70 as I mentioned, and just put that on there, wrap it on, and tie in our underbody. So now we're going to be putting on some copper mylar, but before we do that, I just want to put on a little bit of head cement on this body. And if you guys have seen this in my other videos, the reason for me doing that is that mylar can be a pretty feeble material at times, and it can chafe off. So to me, in my mind, it makes the difference between a 1 or 2 fish fly to multiple fish fly. Just helps with durability, that's all. And the first couple wraps, I'm not really pulling that hard. I don't want to pull that out, but now I'm going to start putting a bit more pressure on. And you're trying to just overlap those wraps enough that you're not showing any of the underbody underneath. I don't get too concerned about this on the way down the shank because I know I'm coming back up through. So if anything's poking through, don't even worry about it, guys. You're more than likely going to catch it on the way back. And then we just change our direction and we start wrapping back towards the front. This is a size 14 uni mylar in copper. For this size fly, I probably would go to a 12. This is a bit small, but regardless, it does the same job. And we're just going to do one more and tie that in. Sorry guys, my vise is shifting a bit here. I hope it's not going out of focus. And we'll cut that mylar. Now we're going to bring our rib up over, and that's going to serve to protect our mylar a bit as well. And we're going for roughly 5 ribs on each side. Ooh, something shifted there at the end. Now I'll try to do that differently. Ooh. Sometimes you're better off with just leaving it. Alright, it's not too bad. Okay, cut that off. So now we're going to go with the throat of this fly, which is orange. I'm going to use hen saddle today. I think it's pretty common to use rooster or hen neck. And another common technique with this is to wrap a collar for the throat. I think a lot of people do that. Today we're just going to keep it pretty simple, and we're just going to tie in a throat like a normal wet fly. And we just took off a piece there and just size it up. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we bring it in, and I like to bring it back to that red butt material in the back there. And we give that a few turns, give ourselves a chance to check it out. Looks pretty good for that fly. And I'll cut off the excess stuff. A lot of people will turn over their vise to tie in the throat. I started off with a non-rotary vise, so my muscle memory just tells me to do it this way, and that's it. So for our next material, it's going to be some red squirrel, and I'm just going to take a bit of tires wax and run that along my thread. And the reasoning behind that is squirrel can be pretty slippery, and I find it a lot easier to have that tires wax on there because it gives me a little bit of extra grip. So I just pick out a nice little piece of squirrel with that black barring on it. I really like that black barring, so, and I'm just going to run my fingers through that just to pull out any short stuff. Get our stacker. And we should be good. We are. Just pull that out and hold on to it. Before letting go, I make sure I have a good grip with this hand. And I'm going to come up here and just size up where I want this wing, which is usually touching the tip of that tail area. And I'll just cut off this here. Alright, so we size up where we want to tie this in, and I'm coming in and I'm cutting that clump of fur in half with my thread and then tying down. I'm going over top and then doing the rest. Basically that'll create a very, very secure wing. This one's a little bit wonky, not too bad. And I'm still waiting on some crazy glue, so I use head cement here. It's not going to be an issue anyway. We split that wing and we did everything we should have. So we're just gonna, I may have used a little bit too much squirrel actually. And should be good there. Yeah, okay. So we'll tie off here using my whip finisher the wrong way. Talk about muscle memory. Oh wow. I learned how to do this wrong when I first started tying as a teenager, and I cannot get away from it. I need to just sit down and tie about 100 proper whip finish knots. And we'll finish this off now with a little bit of head cement. And I'm likely going to do 2 more coats on this. I'll use, what I did was I have a bottle of thicker head cement that will put a nice finish on the last couple coats on this fly. Alright, so folks, that is a copper killer. Excellent fall pattern. I've used it quite a bit. I don't usually use it in the regular season. Maybe I should start. I really like the look of it. Thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Definitely helps me out. If not, totally cool as well. Just happy to have you along. Until I see you next time, stay safe.